Welcome. I'm so excited to come back here. You're going to meet someone that has been in business. Pretty much, we've been following along the same path, and then he just exploded and all of a sudden didn't know who I was. No, I'm just kidding. He will tell you that I have played the chase game. I've been following him for a long time, and that's because he knows what he's doing and he loves what he's doing, and he helps other people do the same thing. Steve Rosenbaum is a genius marketer, and he's not only helped countless businesses help market themselves, but then he's gone the extra mile and has taught others how to create the same kind of business he does. And so I'm really excited to share with you Steve Rosenbaum. Hey, thanks so much for joining me.
Oh, Brenda, you're too kind. And yes, you are professionally persistent.
I know a good thing when I see it. I remember sending you a picture. I think you sent something about somebody breaking your hard drive.
Yeah.
And so I sent you like a crown as the winner of the affiliate marketing. And just recently you got another award for the same thing.
Well, yeah, I don't know if you can see it on my wall over there. I got this really cool prize from Corey Michael Sanchez, who's a brilliant guy on LinkedIn, and he has great product, and he had some partners, Ira Rosen and Tom Gaddis and Nick Ponte, and they had this LinkedIn product, and I loved the product, and so I got behind it, and I was a top junior JV joint partner there, and so Corey was in Peru traveling. He was living in Peru for a month, and he got me that. It's that one on the very end there. It's called a Peruvian Tumi. It's actually an artifact. It's a big knife. They said it's actually like a scalpel. It's like, yeah, I don't want to have surgery with this thing, but it's really cool. And he says it's going to bring me all this good luck. So I just put it on my wall, and now I'm on your show, so it's working.
That's right. I remember Steve and I talked last week, and he said, "Yeah, I would like to be on your show." And I said, "Yeah, man, I'm booked. I'm booked through the summer, but I had a cancellation, and so I was able to squeeze you in. So I'm glad. Yeah, good luck for both of us."
Tumi strikes again. I feel sorry for that person that was supposed to be on your show. They must have got Tumi'd.
Yeah, he'll have to get his own, I guess. And just so you're not lost, when he's saying JV, he's talking about joint venture. It's when you work together to help people promote a certain business. And if you want to know more information about that, there's all sorts of stuff on pajamapartyprofits.com. It's just one of the three real methods that I talk about and my guests talk about in building a business when you work from home. Steve, I have to ask you this, and I'm sorry to your wife if the answer is wrong, but I just want to ask, are you wearing pants?
Well, should I stand up?
You don't have to stand up.
Shorts. I got shorts on.
Oh, shorts. All right. That's around. The point is that you're not even used to looking at the camera because you do so many webinars. And the point is that many of the guests that I bring on work from home. It doesn't matter if they're in t-shirts, pajamas, and that's why we call it a party. Because
well, I didn't shave.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. You're forgiven for that. Except it's going to be really hot if you don't mess with that. We're both in Texas.
Right.
We'll talk about that a little bit in the future too. But the three parts that many of the guests that I come on talk about are affiliate marketing. That's where you don't create any of your own products, or at least not the affiliate marketers, as you're helping others. And that's often interchanged with the word JV that he just said, joint venture. The other is when you make your own products and you sell them yourself. And both Steve and I have done that as well. And the third is services. And Steve, as the king, I know you started in the service field. Is that right?
Well, in this business, yes. I consult with, and I still have clients that I provide services for and help them with their marketing. But yeah, absolutely.
So let's go all the way back to how long have you been working at home, if that's not an appropriate question?
Sure. I got liberated in 2009. That's when I got fired in 2009, and actually picked up my first two clients on the day I got fired, and I've been in business ever since.
All right. So I love that you said that you got liberated, because so many people think it's the horrible thing to do. I know that many people go
I
from.
did. We cried over lunch, and then I went out and got 2 clients, and it's been great ever since.
So what were you doing before?
I've always been in sales and marketing management, and I was with a pretty big company, a building materials company at
So
that time.
it's not like you went out and found the clients and then got fired. It just kind of just didn't work out, and you were still able to rise from that, use the skills that you had, and go on and start your own thing.
Yeah, well, I've never been the world's greatest employee because I'm a little thick-headed. I don't know if you know that about me. So I tended to bump heads quite a bit with people in the corporate world. I did real well, performed real well, and raised sales, but I pissed off a lot of people along the way. So finally in 2009, I said, "That's it. This is the last time I'm going through this. It's time for me to be in business for myself."
You are another example of someone who didn't have a choice. If you know my story, I fell ill. I was a school teacher, fell ill in the middle of the school year. Not something you expect to happen. Uh, not, at least not then. And you have to make a go of it the way you have to make a go of it. And I was homebound because of the nature of my illness. You kind of just said, the hell with it. Let's go do this thing. But how did you really feel about it? Were you nervous?
Well, that's a great question. That's a great question. Um, sure, I was nervous, but I was in the corporate world for 25 years, and frankly, my career was such that I had a lot of transitions. I often got hired away by people, and we made a lot of transitions, and we picked up and we moved quite a bit. And I always had a lot of confidence in my ability, not really to sell. What made me different and why I had success everywhere was because I had a process that worked, and it was a process that was teachable and duplicatable. And that's what I did for companies. They'd bring me in to teach their sales force how to sell. So that's what I was doing. I was always training people. I was always teaching people. And this thing called the internet came along that made it a whole lot easier to get in front of a lot of people. And frankly, I was already doing some stuff on the internet at that time. Um, I hadn't developed my own product yet, but I did decide at that time I'm going to get some clients. I'm going to figure out how to make this work on my own. Sure, it was nerve wracking. Sure, I was scared as hell. But it, it really is. You get those first 2 clients under your belt, and good things start happening.
I have to go back and check my records, but I think that was when I had my first client, was 2009, and he's still with me. So,
Oh, beautiful.
and he's still paying 2009 prices.
That's not beautiful.
Yeah. Um, Tell me, did you always, because now I'm thinking, oh, I thought you helped businesses and then you transitioned to helping others do the same thing that you do, and working in market, helping other businesses work and market. And I know that a lot of the products and things that we do are real similar. We talk about building yourself up as the authority and the person to talk to, and that kind of thing. But now I'm thinking it was all kind of always encompassing. You help the trainer, the salespeople, but people now have access directly to you, and they don't have to go work with a big business in order to learn the sales techniques and things that you work with. Was that a transition, or was it always at the same time?
Well, it evolved. It evolved. When I went into business for myself, the first thing I did was I got some clients that were they were companies. They were companies that paid me to help them with their marketing, and I did that. I didn't develop my first product till the end of 2011. So there was 2 years in there before I developed my first product,
What was that?
the back end blueprint.
Okay, that's right. You're the back end man, Steve
The
Rosenbaum,
back
the
end
back end.
specialist.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Don't
Okay.
Google it. You're not going to like what you see.
Oh, that's awesome. I may have been with you right then. I wasn't
You
sure.
probably did. That a lot of people bought that product. That product did very, very well. It still does.
Great. Okay. And all of it, yes, all of it really makes sense. We talk about like the fishbowl method, like people coming home from all these networking events, and they're collecting all these cards, and what do you do with them? And if they're sitting in your pocket, you're not doing it right. So if you haven't looked into that, you really need to look and see what Steve's doing in helping other people. But I haven't had an interview like this where you haven't told me, where was the struggle, Steve? I mean, come on, you make it sound too easy. Nobody's going to watch anymore. Everybody's too easy.
Where was the struggle? Look, there was definitely a struggle. The story that I love to tell was my most famous client that a lot of people associate me with is the Babalu Cigar Company, because they're in Austin, Texas, and definitely I was going through some tough times there. Now, when I say I picked up my first two clients, I did, and you are right. There were some struggles in between because those clients were basically one-off jobs, and I'd perform those jobs. One guy needed a website built. One guy just wanted a PowerPoint done for him. I finished those things, and then guess what? You're out of work again, right? So you are, when you rely solely on clients, you're always in that hunter mode. You're always trying to find the next client, and that's one of the reasons that I'm a big proponent of people creating their own information products with the knowledge that they have, whatever they're passionate about, whatever they've got experience with, and whatever they've got a talent for. I call that your pet project: passion, experience, and talent. And you should be taking your passion, experience, and your talent and spreading it with others who want to learn it. But if you want to know the struggle, there's a great story that I tell about how I landed Babalu, because I was downtown Austin in the middle of summer, 100 plus degrees, pounding the pavement, looking for that new client. And it was hard, and I was getting a lot of doors slammed in my face. We all know what cold calling's like. And it was the end of the day, and I was about to come home, and I decided, you know what, if I go home now, I'm going to sit in traffic for 45 minutes, or I could just wait for half an hour and then head home, and I'll probably get home in 20 minutes. So I found this little cigar joint, and I'm a former cigar smoker. Back then I was smoking cigars.
Congrats.
And I went in there to get a cigar, and it was a cool little place. And they actually made their own cigars there. They only sold their own brand. And so I bought a cigar, and I boot up my laptop. I said, I'm just going to enjoy this cigar, smoke, check out my email. And the owner comes over to me, and he says, hey, is this your first time at Babalu? And I said, yeah. And he says, we make all our own cigars. And he starts telling me his story. And I said, yeah, it's a cool place. And he says, well, what do you do? And I say, I'm a marketing consultant. And he literally, his anger came over his face. I could see this. It was like he got mad at me. And he turned around and walked away from me. And I called out to him. I said, hey, buddy, what happened? What did I say that pissed you off so much? And he turns around and he's pointing at me. And he says, you probably just came in here to sell me. He says, you don't have any idea how many marketing guys come in here every day trying to sell me. He says, I just paid a guy $2,000 who tells me he did such a great job with search engine optimization. And all I know is I'm not selling any more cigars. I'm just $2,000 poorer. And he's pointing at me. He's mad at me. And I said, whoa. I said, okay, I get it. I said, okay, that makes a lot of sense why you're mad. I said, so this guy thinks he did a good job because maybe you come up on Google for some obscure search terms, and so he's patting himself on the back. And I said, but you don't understand. He's talking about what I call the front end of the marketing funnel. He's talking about getting more people to come in here. I said, that's not what I do. I help people with their follow-up, because here's what I know about businesses, and I bet this is true with you too. Most businesses really don't do a good job following up. I said, for instance, when I'm done with this cigar, I'll probably never hear from you again, will I? And I said, so I bet that, you could use a lot of help getting people that have bought your cigars to come back and buy more cigars from you. I said, I focus on the back end of the marketing funnel. You could call me a back end specialist. And I literally, that's where the term came out in that conversation. And they point to me again and says, that's exactly what I need. I need a back end specialist. I need people coming back to buy more cigars. And he's been my client ever since.
You know what? I think I heard that story in 2009, but that is awesome. Or maybe it was 11. You're right. it's really the essence of where you started. And don't you love how those that make money in your sleep, girl, wasn't my title either. Somebody else gave that to me. So
it just comes about. You know, we sit here and we think and we think and we think, and then you know, in the heat of the battle, things just come out. And
they say the riches are in the niches, but the fortune's in the follow-up. And that's what Steve helps you do. And nowadays we've got tools and things that make it so easy to do while you're sleeping. So, you know, making money in your sleep is still possible using these tools. Steve, it is time to do our, yeah, I know, the obligatory game. Here, you came to my party. It's time for the game.
Uh-oh.
I talked to Steve earlier and I said, I said the last game we did was like Austin versus Houston. I failed miserably just because I'm not from here. Steve is out. He's lived in Austin for many years. He's still in Texas, but he has, he is also from Chicago, where I'm from. And I know that we've spoken on the phone a few times, and Steve told me about a store that I didn't know about. I don't know about the Woolworths who burnt down. My dad was on the phone when Woolworths burnt down in the 80s. And I told him I grew up near the Hip. So we've decided that our showdown here is going to be 5 seconds of the best Chicago food. And you can't say Giovanni's because it sucks. Sorry, Giovanni's.
No, I couldn't agree with you.
If you want to send me a free pizza, I might eat it, but I don't like Giovanni's.
All right, but you know, I got to qualify this by telling you I've been gone from Chicago for a long time. I'm going to tell you about my favorite places. I don't know if they're still there or not, but okay.
Well, we'll let that go. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, go.
Okay, Little Louie's hot dogs, Al's beef, Rickabeans, Lou Malnati's.
3 in 5 seconds.
What? That wasn't 5. Sounds like you did double time. That was 2.5 seconds.
I held up the fingers.
All right, you ready? Ready?
I can't think of anything right now.
1, 2, 3, 4. Up, you're out.
And I lose again. All right, way to go.
Shut out.
Seriously though, best pizza in Chicago.
You know, I'll say Lou Malnati's at this point.
Luminati's?
Lou Malnati's.
I was 5 years old and just learning how to read. Maybe I was 6. No, I was definitely 5 because I started school at 4. Dad hands me this piece of paper. He says, "We're going to order pizzas. Read me the name of this place." And I'm sitting there. And I'm like, and he's like, "Stupid, that's your name. Brenda's Pizza." 4 years or 5 years old, and I still remember that. He probably doesn't remember, but probably the only time he ever called me stupid.
I was going to say, maybe it has something to do with it.
Steve, thank you so much for taking so much of your time and your wife's time to join us on here. I know that your business isn't exclusively from home because that doesn't make it fun. You still get to go out and meet people whenever you want, but you can pretty much work from anywhere. How do people who are watching this, who are thinking maybe they don't know if they can help people with this, but the idea of helping other businesses grow really is interesting to them, and they think maybe this is the kind of thing I want to do. How can they find more about you and your products and how you help people?
Well, I think a great place to start for your listeners would be at helpbuildmylegacy.com. Helpbuildmylegacy.com. And this is a program that I put together for people that are in what I call the second act, like I am, needing to figure out how are they going to replace their income, how are they going to build income from home, whatever the case might be. And this is where we start talking about taking your passion, your experience, and your talent, and your pet project, and turning it into money.
Awesome. And is it marketing focused, or is it about any of their passions or talents?
You know, it probably is a little heavy on the marketing focus, but don't let that fool you. This is universal. It applies to everybody. And certainly in the future, I would like to make it less marketing focused. It just so happens that most of the people that follow me are in the marketing business, so I tend to go that direction.
Great. Okay. And do check that out. I'll have the links for you over at pajamapartyprofits.com. Show notes are there. You'll also be able to grab a copy of my book, Passion to Profits, which is real similar. I told you we're kind of on the same wavelength a lot, and so you read my stuff, read his stuff. You're gonna get a full picture either way. And make sure that you let Steve know that you found him on Pajama Party Profits. We're really, really glad to have you. Thanks so much, Steve.
Thank you, Brenda. I had a great time. Thanks for having me to your house.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. That's all I'm going to say. Bye-bye.